Hey everybody, this is Herschel from High School Top 200, and this next installment of the preseason Top 25 is De La Salle College. Now, De La Salle um, is obviously one of those places that I think has the best original talent, where they don't have to recruit or look outside the area or anything like that. They just have talent on talent on talent. They just produce every single year with guys that are capable of playing the position well, playing the position at speed and with physicality and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that De La Salle always has a spot at the beginning of the season for a top 25, top 30 kind of range, because everything is natural talent. Everything with them is natural talent. Everything with them is based around the physicality of the game and the size that they can bring to the game every single year. But it's not just the size; it's also the attitude in which they bring as well. Because there's a lot of Southside teams that have a lot of size, but it's the way that they use their size doesn't always pay off. Or else you'd have basically all Southside teams in the 1A. So De La Salle has something different just besides size. They have a lot of guys that I think that would be able to always be a threat at at a higher level, where they can also make those higher rep teams, just because they're not at a big time rugby schools in terms of the budget. It doesn't mean that they can't get anywhere, because I always think that De La Salle can, and they always have that potential. And it's just like this year, like they still have the potential this year. They still have guys who are New Zealand secondary school material, like Lalumilos. Like, I actually think Lalumilo could and probably should, after last year's efforts going into this year's, and if he keeps upping his game, they're gonna have no real choice but to look at him at New Zealand secondary schools. I'll be really surprised if he doesn't make even secondary schools or barbarians. Like, I think he's a New Zealand secondary school kind of player. So within that squad, I think he's one of those that should be picked, as of what his game was like from last year. So he just has to double up on his efforts this year and keep to the standard that he's at, and I think he would make it. So you always have guys like that. They always have. They've always had younger talent come through. So like their under 15s last year was just phenomenal, and pretty much way better than everybody else, and sort of had a brain freeze come finals, because I heard that they didn't win the under 15s. I mean, if I was told wrong, then I'm sorry, but that's what I was told, is that they didn't win the under 15 comp in Auckland when they really should have. I think that they have a lot of talent coming up. I do like the fact that they have a lot of year 12s. Like, they had a really good year 10s and year 11s last year. So all of those guys moving in, like Eric Aheng is one guy that I think everyone should watch out for, because he will be year 12 this year. And already last year he made an impact on both sides of the ball in terms of offense and defense. His offensive game was really sharp. He made really good decisions, was always on point with what he was trying to achieve with the ball in hand. And then even on defense, because he's a smaller guy than everybody else, especially being a year 11 last year, starting at fullback, he still made the plays that you needed a fullback to make. So there's no excuse for him in being smaller than everybody else. That really wasn't his thing. So I would have a look at him this year as one of the players that would probably have a really standout year, getting ready for next year's campaign, in terms of how he would do gunning after that New Zealand jersey. So he'll be a guy I'm looking at as well this year. The backline is pretty sharp. They're still pretty undecided. Coach Ramsey is probably in a really bad position, where he's got so much talent. It's figuring out which talent molds together and gives him the best chance to win games in the 1A. You know, some schools, they complain about how little they have in terms of talent, but on the other end, when you have too much talent, it also becomes a problem. It's a good problem to have, but it becomes a problem because when it comes time for selections, you have 5, 6 guys in a position that all of them play pretty similar and all have the similar kind of things, and it comes down to the real minute kind of things that you pick at to say that this kid is better than this other kid. So that's the problem that Coach Ramsey is probably going to have, as more down to selections and who he's selecting, thinking about this year as well as thinking about next year, and having and picking up a really good squad to go through to next year and be the leaders of that team. So Eric would probably be one of them within that lot. Violini is another one who plays somewhat like a blindside, but as a prop. Dominic Vata is another guy. Ioane Moananu is another kid who's at prop that I think would be a guy that we should all probably watch out for this year. All three guys, Violini is a year 11, so we're going to see a lot more of him. He may have a year on the bench or may not. They might put him into the deep end and see how he goes. And he is at the age where you could transition him into another position. Dominic is kind of the same. With Dominic can be, you can transition him into being a prop or even a blindside or even a number 8, depending on like how you want him to train and how much you want him to either put on weight or lose weight, or depending on things like that. George Hutch is definitely going to be one of the leaders and of this team, being a year 13, and he's another one that if he cuts down his weight, he will go from being a lock to a really big number 8, pretty much like his brother, or even a bit better than his brother from last year. Michael Hoff is a kid that I'm kind of watching coming through as an open side, seeing what he can do, seeing what he can bring to the team, and I think that he may be one guy to watch out for. Hitting the gym hard in the off season, and he's looking really good. TJ Anaya's there. Will probably be there at second 5 because even Suakai Taufa is back. Joseph Nansen's back too. Kurt Utai's back. Utai's back as well. So they have a lot of backs there to build around Jesse Pascoe at halfback and Lalo Milo at centre, depending on the way that coach wants to do it. They will be there. They will be there in the running. They'll be really hard, and we've got 2 years of watching this team build, and I think we're going to get something pretty brilliant out of it because they have a good coaching staff. They had good players. They just need that good. They need to put a good system around all these players, and we're going to see something pretty good from this side within the next 2 years. So have a look out for these fellas, and that's De La Salle. Peace.